Okay, so that's great feedback. So thank you, because I also agree that that is probably a better way of doing it. So with that in mind, let's now look at the second half of chapter 2. What does the second
Okay.
half of chapter 2 say? So just a
Mm,
reminder, when we
mm,
started with chapter 1 is called Arjun Vishad Yoga.
mm.
Chapter 1 describes Arjun's mental state,
Right.
right? What dharma sankat he is going through, because
Mm.
his duty is to fight as a warrior, but on the other hand, he is faced with his grandfather, he is faced with his guru, both whom he dearly respects, and he knows that he will have to go to war with them, and one of them is going to end up alive, and one of them is going to end up dead, right? Either Arjun is going to be alive and those two are dead, or other way around. So he didn't know how to resolve this conflict in his mind. He didn't know what is the right thing to do. And he said, should I just run away from battle and forget about all this? This is too much. Should I fight? I don't know. You tell me, Krishna Bhagwanji. And so we learned that basically, when in our life too, we have ups and downs in our lives. We may not have a dilemma like Arjun's, that is really extreme. But we all have our own dilemmas and we have
We
our
have
own
our own
problems.
dilemmas, right?
Yes, right. So for us, they are big dilemmas, you know. Maybe not big enough for the Gita, but they're big for us. And and at some stage we realized that, you know, everything that I had learned when I was younger, I used to think this is how I will live my life. This is what it means to be successful in life. This is what I want to do in life. I want to achieve this, all those things, all the skills I learned, all the money I earned, all the fame and relationships I got, all the friends I made. At some stage, you realize that they all fall short. There are certain moments in life when you are faced with such angst or such difficulty that you have no option but to turn to God and say, you know,
Please
please help
help
me.
me.
I'm lost. Please help me. And these happen to everybody, and at some stage or the other. And what Gita is telling us is that when these things happen, you should ask for teaching. You should ask for help, just like Arjun asked for help. So Arjun and Bhagwan Krishna knew each other for many, many years. They knew each other for decades. But Bhagwan Krishna never taught Arjun anything about the Gita, about who he is and all that. He only taught when he realized that Arjun is A, ready, and two, B, he's asking for knowledge.
Help.
Because if you don't ask for the knowledge, if you're not ready to ask for the knowledge, you will not be committed. Only when you are ready to receive is this knowledge useful. Because this knowledge is not ordinary knowledge. This is knowledge about you. And this is not the kind of knowledge which you can verify with your eyes and your ears and through thinking alone. This is this is very deep knowledge. So that was the lesson of chapter 1, that we all need to get to a stage where we are ready, and then we need to look for a guru. We need to find a guru and then learn from the guru. Ask for the teaching from the guru, because the guru will be more than happy to teach you, as long as he knows or she knows that you're ready and you're asking. So that was chapter 1. In fact, actually, I remember this because in another session that I used to have, one of my friends, he always used to say that we we should start teaching Gita and Vedanta in school. Why don't we teach it early in life? And yes, you can teach it early in life just to get a person familiar. But a small child may not be ready for this. For the small child, going through life and living life, getting married, being successful, getting a few knocks, you know, uh, ups and downs of life, that is what he wants and what he needs. And only after that happens a number of times will a person become ready for this knowledge. So that's just the way it is. This is the way it unfolds. That's why most of us at our age we come to the Gita. Okay. So that was chapter 1. Then chapter 2 Bhagavan Krishna started teaching. And right away, this is another way in which Gita and the Upanishads and all our scriptures are written. They start with the essence of the knowledge right away. They don't dilly dally. They don't beat about the bush and they don't prepare you. So right away, Bhagavan Krishna said, "You are worried about killing Drona and Bhishma, but they are not. You're not going to kill them. You're only going to kill their body. What you don't see is what is the real Bhishma and Drona, and what is the real Arjun, and what is the real me. It's not this body. This body comes and goes. This body, because it is the nature of the body, it is the nature of Janam and Maran. It will be born and it will die. There's nothing you can do to stop the body from dying. Nothing. You can feel, you can say, okay, I can delay it. Even that you can't do. But let's say you can delay it, but you can never avoid the body from being gone, from death. But remember, it is only the body that is dying. Because it's the body which is being born, body which is dying. Anything that is born will die. And you can see that around you everywhere. Anything which is born will die. Anything that is created will be destroyed. It is just the cycle of life, cycle of creation. Even this creation, even this universe, this where we are living in this loka, has been created and it will die. Uska bhi pralay aayega. And then it will be recreated again. So this cycle of creation, it's called Srishti, Sthiti, Laya. Srishti means creation. Sthiti means maintenance, meaning you're going on at a steady pace. And Laya means destruction. Sthiti, Srishti, Sthiti, and Laya happens to everything that you see around you. Everything. From the biggest stars to this whole universe, to you, to even the little cell in your body, to an atom, anything you can think of will have this Srishti Sthiti layer. The cells in our body are dying all the time. We just are not aware. So we are saying our body is not dying, but the body is dying every time and it's being recreated. But this whole body will also die and it will also be reborn. And he says you should not be worried about this because that is not you. That is your body which is being dying. Similarly, it's the body of Bhishma which will die, not Bhishma. And he gave his own example. He said, I will never die. I have never been born. These kings here will never die. They have never been born. And you, Arjun, will never die and will never be born. It's the body which is dying. So this was his first message. Then he said, what are you then? If you're not the body, what are you? There he said, you are the Atma. And he described what the Atma is. He said that the Atma is something which has never been created and will never die. It's the only thing which doesn't die because it's never been created. There is no birth to the Atma. There is no death to the Atma. If Atma was to be born, it would die. But it is not born, it is not death. It is not in time. Even time is created and will be destroyed. Even space is created and destroyed. But Atma is outside of time and space. It's very difficult to understand what this means right now. Don't worry about it. But you will get a sense for this as you go along. But Atma is something completely different from anything that you can ever think of or ever consider. You cannot conceive of the Atma in your head. It is, it is the closest thing to Atma is when you go to sleep, when you go to deep sleep, when you're not even dreaming, right? You don't have any awareness of the body. The body is not there. The mind is not there. There are no thoughts, nothing. But you are there. And that you which is there is your Atma alone. And and the point is, what Krishna Bhagavan is saying is that this Atma, just because the body is not there, the world is not there, you think you've lost something. But if you are in deep sleep, do you feel a sense of loss in deep sleep ever? Where you're in deep sleep, do you feel like you've lost anything? If anything, we want to go into deep sleep. If we don't get sleep, we feel horrible. We want sleep because the Atma alone is a very pleasurable experience. It's called Sat Chit Ananda. So that is what Atma is. That is what you are. Your nature is completeness, fullness, happiness. That's your nature. That is you, Atma. Weapons can't cleave you, cut you. Water can't wet you. You remember there was this, we went through it. Fire can't burn you. Nothing. Wind can't dry you. Nothing can affect you. You are there, you've always been there, and you will always remain. And you will always be at peace inside you. The reason you're not feeling at peace is because you're identifying yourself with other things around you, which are not really you. You're identifying yourself with other people, with other pleasures, with other wealth. That is why you're thinking that you are these limited things. You've forgotten that you are Atma. That's what he was trying to say in the first part of chapter 2. This is the essence of the Gita's Gyan. This is actually the thing is, and now here's the thing. I have told you this. You can even read this in the Gita. You can read it in multiple places. You can listen to a lot of people saying the same thing that I've just told you. But it doesn't make any difference. We are still, while you're listening to me, you'll feel, yeah, there's something here. The moment you step out of this, you go back to your real life, you'll forget all about it. All your anxieties will come back. Everything. So Krishna Bhagavan is saying, why is that? Why is it that even if I, Krishna Bhagavan has told you this, if Gita is saying this, you still, and you have full Shraddha in the Gita, you believe in God, still you are not rid of your anxieties. Why? And he said that the answer to that is the second part of chapter 2, which is Karam Yoga. The reason why we don't imbibe this fully, we cannot absorb this properly, is because our minds are very weak. Our minds are given to desires, anxieties, small issues, little pain here and there. We have made our minds very small, very weak, very fragile. And this fragile mind, which is used to getting anxious all the time, used to getting fear all the time, it is not capable of absorbing the message of the Gita. It's not capable of absorbing the message of Bhagavan Krishna. So he said, having told you this message, now I'm going to tell you Karam Yoga, how to make your mind strong. Because your job number one is not to ratto the message that I gave you. That will not help you. Knowing that your Atma just by itself is not going to help you. Once I've told you, you will always remember. You will always remember that I am Atma, somewhere in your deep of your mind. But it's not going to help you because your mind is still very fragile. So, what you have to do is to strengthen your mind. And that is the purpose of Karma Yoga. So, Karma Yoga is a very big part of the Gita. It's one of the most important teachings of the Gita. And in fact, if you remember, most people remember Karma Yoga. Most people, when you think about the Gita, they remember Slok 2.47, which is, Karmani eva adhikarastu. You can only, your job is only to, your right is only on the action, not on the results of the action. Results को मत देखो, काम को देखो, right? So this is the essence of Karma Yoga. So हमको सब यही है because this is a big part of the Gita. And this is what our effort needs to be right now on Karma Yoga. Once we have strengthened our mind, then the other teaching, which is I am Atma, will suddenly start becoming more meaningful and we will begin to get more peace. Okay, so far so good. You
Yes.
understand? Do you guys understand what is Karam Yoga? Why it is important? What is Karam Yoga? Maybe,
Yes.
but why Karam Yoga is important, right? The
Mm.
purpose of Karam Yoga is to strengthen our mind. That's all. Karam Yoga is not going to take us to moksha. It's not going to take us to liberation. It's to strengthen our mind. And Karam Yoga is not just Karam. It is, if you think about it, the way Gita describes it, there are three kinds of actions. Karam means action, right? Three kinds of action. One action is that we take with our body, physical action. Most of us, we think about that action only. मैंने अगर चोर है उसने चोरी करी तो उसने फिजिकली गया चोरी करी। कुछ काम करते हैं, लेबरर्स काम करते हैं, एक्शन, वी थिंक अबाउट एक्शन एज समथिंग विच रिक्वायर्स आवर बॉडी, आवर एक्चुअल एक्शन। सो दैट इज वन काइंड ऑफ एक्शन, इट्स कॉल्ड काया की। काया होती है ना, काया मीन्स बॉडी, सो काया की एक्शन, सो दैट इज काया की कर्मा। देन अ सेकेंड कर्मा इज मानसिक, what we are thinking. What we are thinking is also important. That is also a karma. That's also an action. Because you can control. You can decide, I'm going to think this and not this. I mean, to an extent. To an extent. So, manasik karma is a second karma. And then there's a third kind of karma, which is vacha karma. That means karma which is to do with your speaking. What are you saying? Are you saying something good or bad? What are you talking? That is also karma. In fact, that karma is a very effective karma. अगर आप देखोगे आसपास इन योर रिलेशनशिप्स, what you are saying is is what is making all the difference, huge difference in your relationships. वो कर्म ही है। हम आसपास रहते हैं, ज्यादा हम गड्ढे गड्ढे नहीं खोद रहे वी आर नॉट लाइक डूइंग फिजिकल लेबर, राइट? वी आर डूइंग मानसिक कर्मा विच इज वॉट वी आर थिंकिंग, एंड वी आर डूइंग वाचसिक कर्मा विच इज कर्मा विच हैज टू डू विद वॉट वी आर सेइंग, थिंग्स दैट वी से। एक दूसरे को क्या बोलते हैं, गाली देते हैं या प्यार से बात करते हैं, राइट? दीज आर ऑल कर्मास। सो गीता का जो कर्म योग है, इट कवर्स ऑल दीज थ्री कर्मास। इट कवर्स what you do, what you think, what you say. And what Gita says is, in all these things, three things, two things are very important for Karam Yoga. One is, are your words, actions, and thoughts, are they dharmic? Dharmic meaning, and I will explain dharmic to you, I'll do so in a minute. It means, are they aligned with dharma? And the second, what is your own personal attitude when you're doing these things? So I'll go through both of them very quickly because this is the essence of Karma Yoga. So, dharmic means something which is aligned with the law of dharma. There's a natural law in this world. There are, this world is operated by natural laws. जैसे हमारी लॉ ऑफ ग्रेविटेशन है, हमने तो नहीं बनाया ग्रेविटेशन, ह्यूमंस ने नहीं बनाया, वो ऑलरेडी देयर, एंड दैट लॉ इज एप्लीकेबल एवरीवेयर। कहीं पे भी तुम कुछ छोड़ोगे वो नीचे गिर जाएगा जमीन पे, दैट इज द लॉ ऑफ ग्रेविटेशन। दैट्स अ नेचुरल लॉ। यू नो, चिल्ड्रन आर born, they grow up, you give them food, they grow. These are natural laws, right? We didn't figure out how to create children. We didn't even figure out how to grow them. We don't even grow them. All we do is give them food, right? They grow because of natural laws. We are born and we die because of natural laws. These are all natural laws. And these are laws are at different levels. You know, some are biological laws, some are physical laws, and there are some sociological laws. And there's a sociological law which operates in this world for all of us. And the sociological law says we like to do, we think always, we think do unto others what they will do unto you. In other words, अगर आपको किसी को भी पूछे, किसी को हार्म करना, किसी को मारना अच्छी बात है, यू डोंट नीड टू बी वेरी, कोई पढ़ाई करने की जरूरत नहीं है, यू विल नो नहीं वो अच्छी बात नहीं है। क्यों? बिकॉज तुमको पता है कि अगर तुमको कोई मारेगा तो तुमको अच्छा नहीं लगेगा। So there's a natural law, which is a law of reciprocity, which says, I want to treat others the way I want others to treat me. You know, you want to do things which are good for the community, that gives you happiness, right? These are natural laws, sociological laws, and these are called laws of dharma. There's nothing, ये कहीं ये नहीं है कि किसी ने लिख दिया इसलिए धर्म है। ये धर्म है because this is inherent in us. Not just us, even animals have these laws. They also operate in some sociological order. So, this dharma, when you operate in accordance with this dharma, then that is the first thing of being a karma yogi. You don't want to operate against the dharma because every time you operate against the dharma, you are going to suffer. The law is such. Because of this law, you are going to get rubbed against it. Every time you rub against the law will rub you back. ठीक है? So this is the number one thing. इंदु दीदी समझ आ रही है? हाँ, आ रही है? Okay, you're muted, that's why. Okay, good. So law of dharma का मतलब है a natural law which tells you what is right and what is wrong. किसी को मारना बुरा है, अहिंसा अच्छी बात है, चोरी करना बुरी बात है, all these things. अगर कभी कभी ये भी होता है कि हम सोचेंगे कि किसी को पता नहीं चलेगा, आई स्नीक अवे विद दिस लॉ, मैं कहीं चोरी कर लूंगा, अगर पकड़ा नहीं गया तो ठीक है, किसी को पता ही नहीं चलेगा, राइट? इन मैन मेड लॉज, स्वामी दयानंद सेज दिस, इन मैन मेड लॉज इट इज पॉसिबल टू डू सो. मैन मेड लॉज है क्या है? जैसे मैन मेड लॉ है स्पीड ओवर 60 miles per hour इज इलीगल. दैट्स अ मैन मेड लॉ. सो यू कैन गो एट 65, किसी को पता नहीं चलेगा. यू कैन गो एट 70, पुलिस नहीं है, निकल गया, कोई बात नहीं. बट इन नेचुरल लॉज यू कैनॉट एस्केप. आप सोचोगे कि मैं चोरी करके ठीक रहूंगा, कोई बात नहीं. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं होगा, बिकॉज उसका फल मिलेगा आपको. एंड दैट फल यू मे नॉट सी इट राइट नाउ, बट इट देयर बी अ दृष्टा फल. देयर विल बी अ फल फॉर दैट. देयर विल बी अ कॉन्सिक्वेंस फॉर दैट. So a Karam Yogi understands this. The Karam Yogi understands what dharma is, why dharma is important, and how it is impossible to escape the consequences of adharma. ये बुद्धि कर्म योग के पास है. सो वो ऐसी बातें करेगा, ऐसी बातें बोलेगा, और ऐसी बातें सोचेगा जो धार्मिक हैं. ठीक है? दिस इज नंबर वन. राइट? सो फार सो गुड.
Yes.
Number two, I said the attitude, the person's attitude with which he does these things. There are three things. There, in fact, Gita में later on जाओगे ना, chapter 17 and 18, it describes it very much more detail. There are three mental attitudes for doing anything, and they call it sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. ठीक है? Sattvic means doing something for your antakarna shuddhi, for your for becoming a better person, for strengthening your mind. मैंने आपको कहा था ना, कर्मयोग का पर्पस क्या है? स्ट्रेंथनिंग योर माइंड. दैट इज योर एम. दैट इज वाई यूर डूइंग व्हाट यूर डूइंग. डूइंग थिंग्स इन अ सात्विक वे इज कर्मयोग. अदर्स बाकी दो क्या है? राजसिक और तामसिक. राजसिक है डूइंग समथिंग फॉर अ मटीरियल एंड. मैंने काम करा क्योंकि मैंने पैसे बनाने हैं. मैंने काम करा क्योंकि मुझे पावर चाहिए. ठीक है? दैट इज नॉट सात्विक. But it can be Rajasic. Rajasic means I want power, I want money, but I don't want to harm anybody else. I want to do it for a noble cause. I'll earn money and I will give donation. Or I'll earn money, I'll give employment to a lot of different people. I'll start new factories. That's a good thing. Nothing wrong in it. That is Rajasic. Tamasic is you're doing something and gaining some power and gaining some wealth and resources in order to hurt others because of a feeling of vengeance, because of a feeling कि मैं बदला लेना चाहता हूँ, मुझे गुस्सा है उस पे, उसने मुझे मुझे उसने मुझे कुछ कहा था, मैं उसको वापस कुछ करूंगा. दैट इज तामसिक. ठीक है? सो डूइंग थिंग्स इन अ सात्विक वे एंड डूइंग थिंग्स विच आर धार्मिक. व्हाट थिंग्स? फिजिकल एक्शंस, मेंटल एक्शंस, मानसिक, and vachan, what you say, that is karma yoga. And what Bhagwan Krishna says is, starting today, become a karma yogi. You don't have to get all your knowledge right now. कोई बात नहीं. अगर नहीं समझ आया knowledge, कोई बात नहीं, कुछ नहीं. But there's one thing you can do, which is become a karma yogi. Start small. And he says, karma yoga is something which is never a wasted effort. One of the first shloks here, he says, it's never a wasted effort. अगर आप सोचते हो कि मैंने कर्मयोग मैंने आधा करना है, मैंने पूरी कमिटमेंट नहीं है, मैं कर्मयोगी बनना चाहूंगा, आई वेस्ट माई एफर्ट. ना मैं इधर करूंगा ना मैं उधर करूंगा. ना मैं ना मैं पैसे कमा के कुछ यू नो संसारिक बात करूंगा, ना मैं कर्मयोगी बन सकूंगा, इट विल बी अ वेस्टेड एफर्ट, आई बी नीदर हियर नॉर देयर। ही सेड देयर इज नथिंग लाइक दैट। Even the little bit of effort that you make towards Karma Yoga, it stays with you. And even if you, भगवान, in fact, actually, Arjun asked him, he said, अभी मैं लड़ाई कर रहा हूँ, आप मुझे कर्म योग कह रहे हो, कल को मैं कल ही मर जाऊँ शायद, कल मुझे मार दे कोई लड़ाई में, तो क्या होगा, मेरी ऑल दिस इज गॉन वेस्ट, मैं तो कुछ करा ही नहीं होगा। He said, no, you will, nothing will go waste. Even the little bit that you have received today, you will be, next janam में, it is in your bank. You will be placed in a situation where you can continue from there on. Because nobody in one janam can do the whole journey,
Achieve the thing.
achieve it. अभी हमारे पास कितना टाइम रह गया, यू नो, आई मीन लाइक टू बी रीजनेबल, कितने साल हम कर सकते हैं? How many years do we have remaining, and out of that how many years do we have of productive years where we can do anything? It doesn't mean you should not start, because whatever little you get, it is going to go
It's
with
in
you
the
to the
bank.
next term. It is in the bank.
Yes.
This is the first thing that Bhagwan Krishna said: no wasted effort. And he also said in the same shlok, he said, no wasted effort and no vipreet result. No, no harm. There's like sometimes you take medicine, unka side effect hota hai, right? Sometimes the side effect is worse than the effect of the medicine. He says this has no harmful effect. It is all, the littlest you do, whatever you do, it'll only be good for you. That is the beauty of Karma Yoga. This is how he introduces Karma Yoga actually. Okay? So Gita actually tells, this is Gita's right now, अगर कुछ कह रहे हैं ना, अभी क्या करना है? He says, अभी, starting now, become a Karma Yogi. And start on this process, even if it's a small step, take that first small step. And he explains what you need to do. What you need to do to be a Karma Yogi is, number one, do the right thing, right? Understand why you're doing the right thing, what you're gaining. You may think कि by doing the right thing, दूसरे आदमी ने पैसे बना लिए, मैंने नहीं बनाए, I'm losing. No, you're not. Because that paisa is not as valuable as the peace of mind that you're going to get by doing the right thing. This knowledge you need to have. So do the right thing, and second, do it with the right attitude. The attitude is, I am doing all my actions as a as an arpana to God. मैं भगवान को समर्पित कर रहा हूँ और कर रही हूँ, इसलिए कर रही हूँ। एंड व्हाट एम आई आस्किंग गॉड इन रिटर्न? आई एम आस्किंग गॉड टू स्ट्रेंथन माई माइंड। मेरे मन को स्ट्रेंथन करो, पक्का करो, ताकि ये जो छोटी छोटी एंग्जाइटीज हैं, छोटी छोटी ख्वाहिशें हैं, छोटी छोटे दुख हैं, छोटी छोटी डिसअपॉइंटमेंट्स हैं, these things, I can be rid of them. I can overcome them. I don't want to be anxious all the time. I don't want to be worried all the time. I don't want to get into this situation कि मुझे भगवान पे भरोसा ही नहीं है, मैं हमेशा यही मुझे चिंता हो रही है, मैं ये खोल दूंगी, फिर मैं ये खो दूंगी, वो मिलेगा कि नहीं मिलेगा, ये होगा कि नहीं ये होगा। ये सब चीजें भगवान पे छोड़ो। That is what कर्म योग is. So आगे जब हम जाएंगे next sessions and all, I'll get into more detail about कर्म योग because there's a lot more. So I'll explain in more detail what exactly he's saying. Because what is ईश्वर, जिस पे छोड़ो, वो ईश्वर क्या है? ईश्वर is not some god sitting somewhere. That is not what is meant by ईश्वर. So what is ईश्वर? How do you, ईश्वर पे छोड़ने का मतलब क्या होता है? त्याग का मतलब क्या होता है? ये सब चीजें in the कर्म योग here section he has described very nicely, भगवान जी. So we'll go through that. But for now, I don't want to, as Sunita was saying, we want to keep it simple. we don't want to we don't want to overwhelm you with too much information. For now, these are the
Me
main
कहते
things
हैं.
that you understand. What is Karam Yoga? Why Karam Yoga is important? And what are the two main things of Karam Yoga? Doing the right thing, dharmic thing, and doing it with the
With the
right
right
attitude.
right attitude.
Right? ये चीजें दो याद रखो पूरी तरह से, और अभी से शुरू करो. Try in your day-to-day life, try a little bit to to say, okay, I'm going to do right things with the right attitude. I'm going to now stop worrying about the results all the time. I want to do something because it's the right thing to do, not just because this is going to give me more benefit, that is going to give me more benefit. This Gita calls this kind of thinking miserly thinking. वो कहते हैं you're a miser, जो कंजूस होते हैं ना, जो कंजूस क्या करते हैं,
हम्म,
वो अपने पैसे
बस।
जमा करके रखते हैं, पैसों का फायदा नहीं उठाते. दे विल स्टफ देयर पैसे अंडर द मैट्रेस. बिकॉज somebody will say, कंजूस, if you use your money, deploy your money properly, you will grow it. This is not a good use of the money to dump it under the mattress. So Bhagwan says, a person, us, we have बुद्धि. हमको भगवान ने बुद्धि दी है. अगर वो बुद्धि को हम यूज नहीं करते, राइट, देन वी आर अ कंजूस. हम क्या करते हैं वो बुद्धि को यूज करने के लिए, छोटा गेन इधर, छोटा गेन उधर, यहाँ पे एंग्जाइटी, वहां एंग्जाइटी. दीज आर स्मॉल थिंग्स. वो दुनिया क्या कहेगी, उसने क्या कहा, उसके पास क्या है, मेरे पास क्या है, दीज आर माइनर स्मॉल थिंग्स. ओनली अ कंजूस is going to limit himself or herself to just these things and say मेरी बुद्धि इसी मामले में काम आ रही है. Whereas your buddhi can do big things. Becoming a Karam Yogi is a big thing. You're saying, I'm actually going to do something that's going to make a real difference in my life. Not just habitually do the things that I've always been doing because everybody else around me is doing the same thing. That's that's what is the message of the Gita. So I'm going to leave it here, but we
Need
can,
to just
yeah, we'll
say
discuss.
in
Yeah.
where is Ishwar and what is Ishwar like?
So Didi, there are many ways of thinking of Ishwar. सो गीता
Yeah.
कहती है कि एट द लोएस्ट लेवल, जैसे हम, डिपेंडिंग ऑन आवर ओन टेम्परामेंट एंड आवर ओन कैपेबिलिटी, अगर आपको चाहिए, जैसे एक इंसान जो बहुत दुखी है, जिसको बहुत हेल्प चाहिए, ठीक है, जो चाहता है कि कोई मेरी मदद करे, कोई मेरे ऊपर अपना हाथ रखे, कोई मुझे पार पहुंचाए, राइट, मोस्ट ऑफ अस आर लाइक दैट.
Mhm.
उनके लिए यू कैन थिंक ऑफ ईश्वर एज अ पर्सन, यू कैन थिंक ऑफ ईश्वर एज अ वेरी ऑल नोइंग पर्सन, जैसे कृष्ण भगवान है. Because then you want to be able to say, I want to be able to relate to Ishwar. You can't relate to a concept, you can only relate to a person or a murti, right, something. उनके लिए it's okay. But actually what Ishwar is, as you get stronger, you'll say what Ishwar is, this whole world is Ishwar. ईश्वर जो है वो कण कण में बसा हुआ है. मतलब ये जो जो ईश्वर है, बेसिकली मैं आपको बताऊंगा, ये दिस अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग, इट्स लॉन्ग बट जस्ट टू गिव यू अ वेरी ब्रीफ. वेदांत सेज कि हम कहते हैं ना ईश्वर ने दुनिया बनाई है.
Mhm.
तो ईश्वर ने दुनिया किससे बनाई है? क्या वो चीज क्या थी जिससे उसने दुनिया बनाई है? कोई मिट्टी थी जिससे बनाई है? वो मिट्टी थी अगर, तो वो मिट्टी कहाँ से आई? वो मिट्टी को किसने बनाया? राइट.
Yes.
करेक्ट. सो
Uh,
जिससे उसने दुनिया बनाई, उसको किसने बनाया? सो वेदांत
mhm.
सेज एक्चुअली व्हाट द रियलिटी इज कि ईश्वर ने अपने आप से दुनिया बनाई है, अपने आप को दुनिया बना दिया है.
अच्छा।
जो अब जो
हाँ,
जो रॉ मटेरियल ऑफ दुनिया है, जो दुनिया का, ऐसे दे कॉल द उपादान कारण. उपादान कारण मीन्स द मटेरियल कॉज.
यस।
वो ईश्वर ही है. ईश्वर ने अपने आप को कन्वर्ट
हर
किया
समय
दुनिया में.
बांटे हैं,
यस.
सारे
बिकॉज,
इंसानों में डाल दिए,
हाँ जी,
सारे इंसानों में डाल दिए हैं।
सारे इंसानों में क्या, सारे हैवानों में भी डाल दिया है. दैट इज द थिंग टू
बिल्कुल।
रिमेम्बर. सारे इंसान, सारे राक्षस, सारी अच्छी चीजें,
बिल्कुल।
सारी बुरी चीजें, सब सब
हाँ,
सबका जो मूल है वो ईश्वर ही है. नहीं तो उनका मूल कहाँ से आया? आप
बिल्कुल
कहोगे
बिल्कुल।
कि ओनली अच्छी चीजें ईश्वर है और वो गंदी चीज ईश्वर नहीं है, तो वो कहाँ से आई गंदी चीज? किसने
बिल्कुल
बनाई? राइट.
बिल्कुल।
So, so once we start understanding, once we start saying, okay, I can look beyond my immediate need to have someone to, you know, protect me, then you can start thinking. Once you start thinking, then you'll say, ये कहाँ से आया सब कुछ? अगर ईश्वर ने बनाया, ईश्वर ने किससे बनाया? सो द ओनली आंसर इज दैट ये जो ईश्वर है, ये सब दुनिया ही ईश्वर है. सो यू
बिल्कुल।
कैन सी ईश्वर इन एवरीथिंग. हर एक चीज में
Yes.
ईश्वर है.
हर एक इंसान में भी ईश्वर।
हर एक इंसान में ईश्वर है.
यस।
हर एक मिट्टी में भी ईश्वर है, वो भी ईश्वर ही है. कुछ भी
बिल्कुल।
जो दिखेगा, कोई जो आपकी थॉट्स हैं, जो आपकी थिंकिंग है, वो भी ईश्वर है. थॉट्स कहाँ से आई? वो भी ईश्वर है. आपकी ड्रीम्स
बिल्कुल।
भी ईश्वर है, आपका जो भय है, जो आपका फियर है, वो भी ईश्वर है, जो आपकी वरी है वो भी ईश्वर है, सब कुछ
हम्म।
ईश्वर है। लेकिन
यस।
देन यू स्टार्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग ईश्वर एज अ सिस्टम। ये जो दुनिया है ये एक सिस्टम है, इट्स गॉट लॉज, ये लॉज से चलती है। ये जो लॉज हैं ये भी ईश्वर ही हैं, ईश्वर के लॉज हैं। लॉ ऑफ कर्मा ईश्वर,
यस।
लॉ ऑफ धर्मा ईश्वर। So when you say that I'm going to leave everything to Ishwar, it means you're saying I'm going to leave everything to this system. This system of the universe is running without your intervention.
यस।
It is, whether you like it or not, it is running without your intervention. आप सोचते हो दुनिया में कितना बुरा हो गया, हम कहते हैं ना, ये कौन आ गया, अमेरिका का प्रेसिडेंट अच्छा नहीं है, दुनिया तबाह हो रही है, ये हो रही है, वो हो रही है। कुछ नहीं हो रहा है, ये सब दुनिया अपने लॉ से चल रही है।
बिल्कुल।
Only when you come to this understanding and this realization, this is not something that you wish, this is the fact. When you understand this fact, then you can say, मैं दुनिया का जो बोझ है वो दुनिया पे छोड़ती हूँ। बिकॉज बिकॉज मैं तो ऐसे अपने आप को भ्रम में डाला हुआ है कि मैंने सबका बोझ उठाया हुआ है। मैंने किसी का बोझ नहीं उठाया, मैं तो कुछ नहीं एक्चुअली कर सकता, मैं अपना ही उठा लूँ वही बहुत है। राइट।
बिल्कुल।
सो जो कर रहा है वो ईश्वर कर रहा है। Once you have this understanding and then you can do that, that is the ultimate karma yoga. So ये we'll go through later कैसे, बिकॉज इससे चिंता खत्म हो जाती है, दूर हो जाएगी।
बिल्कुल।
आप देखो, आप अभी से, वी आर ऑल योर, सम ऑफ यू आर 70 80, आई एम 65, सुनीता is 60, going to be 60, 60 years, so many years we have spent on this world, कितना हमने करा है और कितना ईश्वर ने करा है। Do you think ये
वी
हमने
हैव
सारा
डन
अपने
दैट।
को, वी ग्रू अप, वी बिकेम बिगर, वी लर्नड ऑल दिस, ये हमने करा है या ये ईश्वर ने करा है, या हमारे पेरेंट्स ने करा है, किसने करा है? ईश्वर ने करा है। दिस हैपेंस, दीज आर थिंग्स व्हिच हैपन,
बिल्कुल।
राइट? सो
In
recognize
other
this.
words, we're trying to say to just surrender.
Surrender, yeah, well, exactly. And surrender also is another concept which we will go into detail, but for now let's say surrender, meaning not surrender because you're incapable, surrender to knowledge, surrender to what is actually happening. If you
No, because
realize,
when we say that, जब हम कहते हैं कि हम तो कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते, जो है ईश्वर ही कर रहा है, तो in other words we are surrendering ना, we are not using our own thoughts or anything in it.
no, no, I'm going to slight adjustment to that, हाँ। आप कह रहे हो,
Right.
ठीक कह रहे हो। मैं कह रहा हूँ कि
हम्म।
आपको, ये आपका डिसीजन नहीं है कि मैंने सरेंडर कर दिया।
वे
देखो
भी
मैं,
भगवान कर।
राइट, व्हाट आई
नहीं,
एम ट्राइंग टू
बिकॉज
से,
मैं कुछ कर ही नहीं सकती हूँ।
what I'm saying is, but what you can do is have knowledge, have understanding.
Right. हम्म।
So the question is not whether you surrender or not. The question is, do you understand that this world operates through its own laws? Do you
Right.
understand that the results are happening not only because of your effort, but also because of the laws of this world? This is a question of understanding. If you understand it, then your surrender is automatic. If you don't understand it, then you are thinking सब कुछ मेरे ऊपर है, मैं कर रही हूँ ये सब कुछ, ये मैं कर रहा हूँ, so that is not surrendering.
No, I'm trying to say surrender at that time. See, you're going to make an effort to do it, right? You just can't sit and say कि भाई ये तो हो ही जाएगा, जैसे भी होना है हो जाएगा. You
Correct.
carry on, you put in all your efforts, and
Absolutely.
finally you find that you don't succeed.
Correct.
It is at that stage you say, now
Surrender.
I give up, I surrender.
Well,
That
actually,
means you're
I would say
making
even
an
before
effort.
that, if what you're talking about is you're describing 2.47, Karmani
Hmm.
Eva Adhikarastu, what their Gita says is you have to make your best efforts.
That's what I said, huh?
Absolutely. You have to make your best efforts. And whether you're successful or not, leave the results to God. So what we do is actually the inverse. So एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग मैं आपको बताता हूँ, मैंने पढ़ा था अभी पीछे, यूट्यूब में यूट्यूब शॉर्ट्स होती है ना, उसमें ये दिस अभी यूएस ओपन चैंपियनशिप हुई थी, तो उसमें विमेन्स फाइनल वाज बिटवीन एन अमेरिकन एनिसिमोवा एंड एंड क्या था उसका नाम, रायना साबालेंका, आई डोंट नो विच कंट्री शी इज फ्रॉम। सो साबालेंका और एसिमिनोवा के बीच में ये फाइनल हुआ था, और एसिमिनोवा लॉस्ट बट शी वाज क्लोज। तो एसिमिनोवा के कोच ने, ही वाज डिस्क्राइबिंग, ही वाज सेइंग एट दैट लेवल ऑफ प्ले, जहाँ पे these people are playing at that level, that's such a top level of play. He said the mindset is very important. He said we, at that level we realize that there are things we can control and things we can't control. So for example,
Yes.
I can control how much effort I put into my training. I can
Right.
control whether I am learning my forehand properly, backhand, whether I'm improving it or not. These I can control. Whether I will win the tournament, I can't control. That I don't know. So he said what happens is when you are a junior player, when you're just starting out, most of your thinking, attention is on the victory. ओ मुझे वो जीतना है, मुझे वो जीतना है, मुझे वो जीतना है, मुझे कप जीतना है, मैंने ग्रैंड स्लैम जीतना है. And your thoughts and your attention is there. As you get old, senior and senior, and become better and better player, you realize that that doesn't work. You have to. So people like Sabalenka, they don't think about whether I'm going to win or not. They only
On
think
their game,
on
on
what
how
they
they
have to
play.
do, on what they have to do.
Mm.
So they're focused
Mm.
only on all the things that they can do. That's exactly what Gita is saying. It's saying focus your attention on your actions, because the result is a distraction. Because the result will make you say, ये result आएगा कि नहीं आएगा, तुम्हारे में एंग्जाइटी आ जाएगी. You're going to lose the motivation. It'll some of the attention will go towards the result, whereas you need to put 100% of your effort on action. So it's another way of saying I leave the result to God. It's another way of saying. Now, Sabalenka may not believe in God, so she'll say, no, it is not. So we'll say, okay, what determines the success then? If you don't say God, she'll say the system. She'll say this world. So many things are happening in this world I don't control. उस दिन बारिश आएगी कि नहीं, उस दिन मेरा मेरा कंपेटिटर अच्छा खेलेगा कि नहीं. All these things, we say God, she says it's the system. Same thing,
Circumstance.
same thing. It's a system. So
Mm.
if you want to think of God as a protector, you can think of it as God. If you want to be pure Vedantist, you can say it's the system. The system around you is what is generating these results. Of course, you are part of the system, so you are also generating. Your contribution is there because you're part of the
Your
system.
contribution is.
Yeah. But you don't have the whole thing. So just when you know this, when you understand this, then automatically you surrender. Because you say, okay, I will just focus on what I have to do. Rest, I surrender. Because I can't do
When
anything.
you know this, no, when you know this, acceptance becomes easier.
It becomes automatic.
हाँ, वही
Yes.
का, it becomes automatic.
But what I'm saying is, if you don't know, then you're kidding yourself when you say, I will surrender. Because you can't actually
हाँ,
surrender. You just say, मैं surrender कर दूंगी, मैं कर दूंगी, लेकिन all the time you're trying to control.
but you know you can do nothing about this.
Yeah. So आप control कर रहे हो, लेकिन आप कह रहे हो मैं surrender कर रही हूँ. So surrender is not an action. Surrender is knowledge. Knowing reality is equal to surrender. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what Vedanta says.
Yes.
Surrender is
Mm.
knowledge. It's not a decision कि मैंने surrender कर दिया. ये पहले
Right.
मैंने
Mm.
surrender नहीं करा था, अब मैंने surrender कर दिया. It's not a decision. You can't make,
Yes.
you can't will yourself to surrender. You cannot, कि नहीं मैंने surrender करना है. Surrender is a consequence of knowledge. When you know the reality, then you automatically you can say it is surrender because you know, okay, मेरे हाथ में बस यही है. इतना है जो मेरे हाथ
Mm.
में है, मैं उसके ऊपर पूरा दम लगाऊंगी. I'll put the whole effort into it. जो मेरे हाथ में नहीं है, I don't even want to think about it. What's the point?
Yes. As Rani is doing her best effort
Yeah.
to save Kuku Bhaiya, but naturally she cannot save
Yeah.
it. She knows God is
If
there
she
to look.
keeps thinking what will happen, her efforts will suffer. Right now,
But
she has to stop thinking of the
mm,
result and just do her effort. Then she will make the
yes,
right effort. She'll make it with a proper peace of mind. She'll make it, you know, intelligent effort. That is exactly
mm,
correct. Because
yes,
at some stage we all realize this truth, like जैसे रानी भाभी की situation है, उसमें क्या क्या कुछ कर सकता है? किसी के पास क्या कुछ पैसा, मेडिसिन, कुछ? नथिंग, नथिंग कैन डू एनीथिंग. It's not in our hand.
Yes, yes,
So just we need to know these things, you know. That's what
yes,
that is what Gita is saying.
yes. At the moment,
Yeah,
she's in that
effort
state.
should be there.
yeah. So
Effort, so she's doing everything.
रितु
God,
भैया,
हाँ जी,
जो
स्मार्टी,
ये आप बोलो।
बोलो.
अ, तो जो जो राजसिक कर्म है, आपने तीन में डिवाइड किया,
करेक्ट.
सात्विक, राजसिक और
राजसिक.
तामसिक। ठीक है,
तामसिक।
तो राजसिक जो कर्म है उसका क्या इम्पोर्टेंस है और उसको कैसे हम सात्विक में कन्वर्ट करें?
तो भगवान कहते हैं कि जो तामसिक कर्म होते हैं ना, वो तो आपको इमीडिएटली स्टॉप कर देने चाहिए, जो दूसरे को हार्म कर रहे हैं. राजसिक कर्म, यू इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू स्टॉप एंड इट इज नॉट नीडेड टू स्टॉप ऑल्सो. सो राजसिक कर्म, बिकॉज दैट इज हाउ द वर्ल्ड वर्क्स. सो कोई ऐसा इंसान नहीं होता जो सिर्फ सात्विक ही होता है. It's always a combination of sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. And Bhagwan says, try to maximize the sattvic, number two, rajasic, and eliminate the tamasic. So राजसिक कर्म जो है, देर आर गुड कर्म्स. वो वो आप कर्म करोगे तो उससे मेच्योरिटी आती है. द मोर actions you take in the world, the more things you do, the more you learn. You more learn about yourself. Actually, one of the main learnings of it, not so much in the Gita, but from Mundaka Upanishad, is this. They say that how does one even become a Karam Yogi? How does one even want to come here to become a Karam Yogi? To say, okay, I want to learn, I want to become a Karam Yogi. Why? Because the person does a lot of Rajasic Karams, which are good things to do. एंड यू थिंक ये तो अच्छी बात है, मैंने अच्छे काम करे, लोगों को एम्प्लॉयमेंट दी, लोगों को दान दिया, तो मुझे खुश होना चाहिए. एंड थोड़ी देर के लिए खुशी मिलती है उन चीज़ों से. लेकिन वो करते 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 तब भी आप देखते हो कि सिर्फ खुशी नहीं होती, खुशी भी होती है, दुख भी होता है. एंड समथिंग इज ऑलवेज मिसिंग. इवन इन स्पाइट ऑफ डूइंग द राजसिक कर्म, समथिंग इज मिसिंग. तब भी लाइक लाइक अर्जुन जो था, अर्जुन ने तामसिक कर्म कोई नहीं करे थे, उसने सारे राजसिक कर्म करे थे. He learned his everything. जो भी उसने इतना, he was such an accomplished man, such a capable man. सारे राजसिक कर्म करता था, वो दूसरों के भलों के लिए कर्म करता था, लेकिन कर्म करता था बिल्कुल राजसिक. लेकिन वो भी he also faced a situation which he could not come to terms with, right? So राजसिक कर्म करते करते one comes to these realizations in life. And then you realize, oh my God, I need something more than just my Rajasic Karam. That's when you start focusing on knowledge and focusing on all these things. That knowledge is what tells you that, for example, ये राज मिलेगा या गद्दी मिलेगी या सब कुछ मिलेगा, इससे मुझे सेटिस्फैक्शन, इससे मुझे नहीं मिलेगा. आई नीड टू स्ट्रेंथन माई माइंड बिकॉज आई नीड नॉलेज. That you suddenly then start developing sattvic tendencies, right?
So it's a process,
It's a
basically it's a
process.
process that
Absolutely.
everybody. और
Yeah.
दूसरी बात, जब आपने बोला कि जब हम सोते हैं तो जब वो चीज जिसमें कोई ड्रीम नहीं है, कोई थॉट नहीं है, वो आत्मा है, तो ये कौन विटनेस करता है कि ये आत्मा है?
हाँ, कोई नहीं विटनेस करता. आप
हाँ,
देखो,
ये विटनेस करता है।
आप देखो, जब आप सोते हो, कोई विटनेस होता है क्या? बिल्कुल नहीं.
हम्म,
आपको लगता है अभी मैं सोई और अभी उठ गई, 2 घंटे चले गए होंगे, 3 घंटे चले गए होंगे, आपको पता ही नहीं, बिकॉज कोई विटनेस ही नहीं है. सो दिस इज वॉट यू हिट अपॉन इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग. जो भी विटनेस करता है वो आत्मा है, लेकिन आत्मा को कौन विटनेस कर सकता है? कोई नहीं. सो आत्मा
आत्मा
से,
ही है।
आत्मा इज स्वतः सिद्धा. इट इज सेल्फ एविडेंट. ठीक है. इट्स अ वेरी डिफरेंट एक्सपीरियंस. सी विटनेस, जो विटनेस होती है ना, विटनेस हैपन्स इन स्पेस एंड टाइम. अगर आप विटनेस करना चाहते हो तो आप स्पेस में हो, समथिंग इन द स्पेस, समथिंग एल्स इज देयर, यू विटनेस इट ओवर टाइम, राइट? That is all happening in space and time. Atma is not in space and time. So Atma is a completely different experience, which is unlike anything that we know, that we have seen, but it is there all the time. अभी हमको आपकी अभी भी जो विटनेस कर रही है ना आपको, जो आपको, व्हाट इज इट, आपको अगर पेन हो रही है अभी भी, अगर आपको दर्द हो रही है, तो किसको दर्द हो रही है? बॉडी को तो दर्द नहीं हो रही, राइट? बॉडी को तो अगर दर्द, अगर मैं बॉडी को एनेस्थाइज कर दूंगा, उसमें काट भी दूंगा, तो कोई दर्द नहीं होगी। बॉडी को दर्द नहीं होती, आंखें नहीं देखती। सो व्हाट इज बिहाइंड द बॉडी विच इज एक्चुअली एक्सपीरियंसिंग, राइट?
Atma is experiencing
Atma is
the
experiencing, right? So Atma is the experiencer, but
pain.
Atma can also is also experiencing itself.
Mm.
But that is not an experience of the type that we are used to. So what it's saying is that Atma is always present. Because you are living, because you are experiencing, that means there is Atma. Otherwise, how would you experience? And that is how you know the Atma. But you can't experience Atma and say, मैंने आत्मा को experience करा, because then you get into a trap. जिसने एक्सपीरियंस करा वो आत्मा है, राइट? सो आत्मा को एक्सपीरियंस करने के लिए एक और आत्मा होनी चाहिए, राइट?
Nitu, you cannot ever see the Atma.
नो
When
नो,
the Atma leaves the body, nobody sees it.
यू कैन, वेल, आई मीन इट्स नॉट टू बी, to be totally perfectly accurate. Atma doesn't leave the body. It's your sukshma sharir that leaves the body, right? That's a different thing. It's your,
But you
it's your,
don't see the Sukshma Sharir
you don't
also.
see the sukshma sharir, you don't see the
Yes.
atma also. You, these are the
Yes.
things that can be experienced. Experience matlab, they can't be seen, they can't be heard, they can't be touched, felt, they can't be anything. They can't even be thought about. You can't even think about the atma. आप कुछ भी,
But
even if you try to think, you can think of an object. You'll think of an object in space, in time. That is how you think of objects.
no,
Can
but
you?
Atma is not a thing in space at time also.
No, it is not a thing in space and time.
So
It is
Atma
just,
is pure, na? Then agar Atma is not experienced in space and time, that means that Atma is always pure.
Absolutely, always pure. It's always pure, always asangha, always clean, always full, right?
but
And this is,
how does it leave body when nobody can see anything?
yeah, so
Nobody.
Atma doesn't leave the body. The Sukshma Sharir leaves the body.
Yeah, but
Atma,
you cannot
okay,
see it.
but yet you can't see that also. So what I'm saying is these things, I'm so glad that you're asking these questions, because अभी आपको ये नहीं समझ आएंगी चीजें, because they are so different from all our experiences,
Yes.
right? But as we go along, you will get a handle of these things. You'll start seeing these things differently. You'll start
Yes.
realizing that actually जो कुछ है आत्मा ही है, जो मैं देख रही हूँ ये सब कुछ अनरियल है। जो एक्चुअली जिसको मैं रियल समझती थी, all these things around me, ये सब, this is all transient. What is
Mm.
really there is Atma, which
Mm.
I would not, which I didn't even know existed. Till now, I didn't even
Yes.
know there was something called Atma, right?
Yes.
But what Gita will finally, Bhagwan ji will teach you is that what is actually there is Atma.
Yes.
And all these other things which you think are there are just transient. So once you,
एक
and that Atma is yourself. Sorry.
सॉरी निट्टू भैया, जब आपने धर्म की बात करी तो आपने कहा ना कि हमें सही धर्म करना चाहिए, पर डोंट यू फील दैट राइट फ्रॉम द टाइम वी आर बोर्न दैट वी आर कंडीशनड दैट वे कि ये नहीं करना, इसको हार्म नहीं करना, इसको मारना नहीं, सो कंडीशनिंग, और बचपन से तो हम यही हमें
Correct.
सिखाया जाता है ना,
Right. Right.
तो ये कंडीशनिंग है या ये धर्म का ही part
दोनों हैं। सो हमको कंडीशनिंग है, लेकिन कंडीशनिंग ये क्यों हुई? Why is it that all societies everywhere in the world, right? Even cannibals, even animals, everybody is saying the same thing. वो अपने बच्चों को सबको यही सिखाते हैं in one way or the other, लेकिन they are all saying the same thing. This, अगर आप क्रिश्चियन हो या आप हिंदू हो या आप मुसलमान हो, कुछ भी हो, जो जो धार्मिक है वो आप पहचान जाओगे वो धार्मिक है, राइट? इट्स दे आर essentially they are people
Good person.
who are doing the right thing. They are, it's not as if the dharma of the Musliman is different than our dharma. in basic ways. Maybe their rituals are different. जैसे कि तुमको 5 बार नमाज पढ़नी है, हम कहते हैं 2 बार पूजा करनी है, जो भी जैसे भी है. Rituals are different, but the basic law, the basic idea is all common. And it's common because it is natural. It's the natural law. So, of course, हम अपने बच्चों को ठीक बात ही समझाएंगे ना. तो हम बच्चों को वही बात समझाएंगे जो ठीक है, हमको जो ठीक लगती है. लेकिन हम सबको यही बात ठीक लगती है. सबको पता है कि चोरी करना बुरा है. सबको पता है कि किसी को मारना, मर्डर करना बुरा है. Of course, now, you can say some tribes may kill because they may have a different understanding. They might think that जो भी बाहर के लोग हैं वो मुझे मारने आए हैं तो मैं उनको पहले मार देता हूँ. या animals can kill for food, वो तो हम भी मारते हैं. So those exceptions aside, unless for these exigencies, everybody understands that killing is bad. So that is why these are called natural laws. And yes, we teach our children natural laws. It's natural for us to teach our children natural laws. We won't teach our children something which is against dharma, right? But where did the dharma come from? Where did it originally come from? It came from just a basic understanding, a basic feeling that this is the right thing to do. That's what Vedanta is saying. Okay. Sunita, Charu, Seema, you guys have been totally quiet. Are you still there or gone to sleep?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Okay. And what about you, Charu?
I'm here.
You're probably in the
I
next
was
room. Are you in
thinking,
the next room to
I
Sangeeta?
have a
No.
question.
Ah, baro. Please.
I have a question.
Ah,
Isn't right and wrong very subjective? Ki right thing to do in the army or right thing for Arjun was to kill people at that
yes.
time. His
Yeah.
so वो तो law of dharma के against ही है ना, तो फिर
हाँ.
right or wrong subjective चीजें नहीं हो
नहीं
सकती.
नहीं है. Actually, you're right. So if you go deep into the law of dharma, I'm not an expert in it, but I can tell you a little bit which I've read. They say that there's something called samanya dharma and vishesh dharma. So ahimsa, samanya dharma means ahimsa is wrong. I mean, ahimsa is right. Hinsa is wrong. But there are circumstances when hinsa is needed. For example, if someone, not just army, if someone has done something wrong, that person needs to be punished. That's hinsa, right? You punish them. In the पुराने ज़माने में वो violently उसको मारते थे. अब उनको जेल में बंद कर देते हैं या फांसी पे लटका देते हैं. It's all hinsa. So the law permits these exceptions. So that's called Vishesha Dharma, meaning, in other words, there are always circumstances which are against the general law. But the general law is you should not harm others. Now, if my enemy comes and harms me, then I have to defend myself. But if I say, I want to go and kill the enemy, if the enemy has done nothing, I want to go kill them, that no army also will like. That is actually an offense in the international treaty to just go kill civilians, right? It's a gray area in some respects. You're totally right, but
Because survival of the fittest भी तो law ही है ना nature का.
बिल्कुल लॉ. लेकिन वो तो नेचर का लॉ है ना, सर्वाइवल ऑफ द फिटेस्ट. एब्सोल्युटली राइट. बट द सोशियोलॉजिकल लॉ जो हमारे को जिसको हम धर्म कहते हैं, दैट इज द बेसिक लॉ इज व्हाट इज अहिंसा.
How do we define
सर्वाइवल
that?
ऑफ द फिटेस्ट कि अगर आपके पास रिसोर्सेज का, सर्वाइवल ऑफ द क्या कहता है, इफ यू डोंट हैव फुल रिसोर्सेज, यू हैव लिमिटेड रिसोर्सेज, राइट. खाने को सिर्फ इतना कुछ है और खाने वाले बहुत हैं, राइट. नाउ इट डजंट मीन कि धर्मा डजंट से कि तुम खाना ना खाओ. You go grab your food. Of course, it is just so happens that the person who will grab the food is the fittest. So the fittest will survive. So survival of the fittest is in the context of limited resources. If you have unlimited resources, everybody can survive. So again, like I said, that's a special circumstance where you have few resources, more people, then yes, survival of the fittest. And that maybe it may happen that the weakest will not get anything to eat. And there's nothing wrong. It's okay. But the the underlying dharma, the general dharma is ahimsa.
So where do we draw the line? How do we know what is right and what is wrong? I mean, law of dharma का कैसे define?
That is very good question you're asking, because ultimately you're conscious, your own, the knowledge is within you. And what Karam Yogi will tell you is sometimes we get confused. Actually हमको पता होता है कि ठीक बात क्या है, लेकिन हमारे डिजायर्स होते हैं, विशेस होती हैं, and those desires impede our judgment. Even though I know that the right thing to do is X, I will convince myself, no, I will do Y. Because the Y, because I'm influenced by my desires. It's called conflict of interest, right? जैसे judges को भी कहते हैं, should not have conflict of interest. So if you have this much strength of mind that you can overcome your desires, you can see what is the right thing to do, then you can make your judgment about what is the right thing to do. And that is perfectly fine. It's not as if there is a, like, that you have to, I'll tell you another example of that is in the Gita, where they say that people are supposed to, this is a tangential example, but आपको क्या करना चाहिए, आपको जो they tell you how to do rituals, worship. And they say worship के लिए there are some patterns, rituals, and there is Shraddha also. You should have Shraddha in your mind. Now, very often हम वर्शिप करेंगे, रिचुअल्स करेंगे, श्रद्धा के साथ करेंगे, पूरी श्रद्धा के साथ, लेकिन हम गलत मलत कर देंगे, हम प्रोनाउंस गलत कर देंगे, आग इज सपोज टू बी लाइक दिस, हम गलत जगह पे आग लगा देंगे या कुछ कर देंगे, राइट? सो वी डोंट फॉलो द एग्जैक्ट वर्डिंग्स ऑफ द स्क्रिप्चर, बट वी डू इट विद श्रद्धा. एंड भगवान सेज दैट इज टोटली फाइन, because you are using your best judgment with Shraddha, keeping in mind, keeping away from desires, not being led by desires. So that's the best you can do. So आप किसी सिचुएशन में हो, आपको पता चल जाएगा कि क्या ठीक करना है. ऐसी बात नहीं है. मे बी यूल मेक अ मिस्टेक ऑल्सो, बट दैट इज ऑल्सो ओके, एज लॉन्ग एज इट्स एन ऑनेस्ट मिस्टेक, नॉट अ मिस्टेक ड्रिवन बाय सम सेल्फिश डिजायर. जैसे अर्जुन था. अर्जुन wanted to fight. He knew his duty as a warrior is to fight. But why did he get into the Dharam Sankat? Because he had a lot of attachment for his grandfather and his guru. So this is a very, unique situation. But his attachment for those two people, it led him, it got him confused. He in fact started saying to Krishna that this war is adharmic. कहते हैं इस वॉर में क्या होगा, ये मैं लड़ाई करूंगा तो बड़े सारे लोग मर जाएंगे. जब बड़े सारे लोग मर जाएंगे तो उनकी जो फैमिलीज हैं, उनकी जो बीवियां हैं, वो करप्ट हो जाएंगी. उनके पास कुछ खाने को नहीं होगा, वो करप्ट हो जाएंगी. उनके घर में जो धर्म है वो धर्म खत्म हो जाएगा. तो लड़ाई नहीं करनी चाहिए क्योंकि उससे धर्म खत्म हो जाएगा. एंड भगवान कृष्ण से तू क्या बातें कर रहा है. दिस होल आइडिया इज टू हैव अ धार्मिक लड़ाई, टू टू किल और टू सबड्यू द अधर्मा दैट युधिष्ठिर इज डूइंग. तूने उसको भी उल्टा बना के उसको अधर्मिक बना दिया. व्हाई? बिकॉज ही डिडंट वांट टू किल Bhishma and Duryodhan. He was afraid of doing that. He didn't have the he was too attached to them. So अगर आपकी attachment की वजह से you are getting confused about what is the right thing to do, that you don't want to do. That is the Karam Yogi you should try to get over. But if you're not attached and in your judgment you decide this is the right thing to do, pure judgment, not because of attachments, but because of your judgment, then that is the right thing to do. That is totally fine. Because nobody is God. Nobody has all the information and will always do everything right. All all Gita is saying is be aware of your desires and attachments and how they come in your way in deciding what's the right thing. This is very difficult. मैंने आपको बोल तो दिया है, मैं ऐसे बोलता जा रहा हूँ ऐसे मुझे सब पता है, but I mean I know how difficult it is to actually do. So thankfully that you're not checking on me to see whether मैं कर रहा हूँ कि नहीं. And this is just listening to me. Anyway, does it answer your question, Charu, to some extent?
Yeah, there's still confusion.
Actually, knowing it's true, because knowing the right thing to do is also very difficult because for us, we have too many desires, attachments, hidden interests, access to grind, all of that. Anyway, over time, hopefully we learn.
Yeah, maybe
Maybe
with sessions it will get clearer with more listening to Gita.
with more listening to Gita, yes. True. Seema, what about you? Any thoughts? I think she's busy. Doesn't matter. Chalo, anything else? Otherwise, we can, you guys must be all sleepy. I don't know how you guys do it. It's पौने 11 हो गए हैं आपके, है ना? You guys are really motivated, I have to say. So you can pat yourself on the back. Okay? Shall we call it a night?
Okay.
Is it okay? Shall we meet in 2 weeks?
Yeah, that will be
Sure.
fine.
Okay, and then we will go through this only. So this time we talked about Karma Yoga. Next time I'll talk a little bit more about Karma Yoga, and then rather than go, you know, shlok by shlok, we'll just go through the main points.
Right.
All right. Chalo. Bye bye.
Okay, bye. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good
Okay,
night.